Hello, today we are learning Module 9. This is the lesson 2. It's about keeping food safe. There are some key words in your book. I'm on page 190. Please look at the key terms and study them. Foodborne illness. Older adults and people with chronic illness are at higher risk for eating contaminated food and are considered highly susceptible. People in a highly susceptible population include people younger than 5 years old or older than 65 years old, pregnant or immunocompromised. Symptoms of foodborne illness may appear within several hours to several weeks after eating contaminated food. They can be mild or severe depending on the cause. The most common symptoms include upset stomach cramps, diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, fever, dehydration, and serious long-term effects include kidney failure, chronic arthritis, brain and nerve damage, and death. What are the causes of foodborne illness? Viruses are tiny, most of them are viruses. Viruses are very tiny germs that can pass from person to person through food. And bacteria, these are tiny germs that are most common cause of foodborne illnesses most of the time. And parasites, these are organisms that live inside other animals. And foodborne can be caused by chemicals, usually contaminated food in any stage of processing. Physical objects like broken glass or jewelry, fungus. These are like mold and yeast can make food unsafe to eat, and allergens in food that cause dangerous reactions in people with food and allergies. Some foods that commonly cause allergen reactions are like nuts, milk, egg, fish, shellfish, tree nuts, peanuts, wheat, and soybean. A small amount of this can be enough to cause a deadly reaction. So the common cause of foodborne illnesses are usually viruses, bacteria, parasites, some chemicals, physical objects, fungus, and some allergies. What are the source of foodborne germs? The sources of foodborne germs can be people or animals, or it can be the storage, how we store our food, or if how we store our food. Like bacteria multiplies quickly on food that is stored improperly, and the environment, like some dangerous bacteria live in water and soil, and the others live in fruits and on vegetables. Those carry bacteria on them. Potentially hazardous foods, they are usually abbreviated as PFH, potentially hazardous foods. Any food can become contaminated and cause foodborne illness. However, some foods are more potential to cause foodborne illness than others. Certain foods called potentially hazardous foods are more likely to cause foodborne illness if it is stored in proper temperature. The food must be kept hot, like 135 and above, and it need to be cold 41 and down. The common foods that are hazardous are meat, poultry, egg, fish, and cooked starches, cooked vegetables, sprouts, cut melons, cut tomatoes, and leafy green vegetables. On your book on page 344, it lists some potentially hazardous foods. It's good to look at them. How do we prevent foodborne illness? First one is we need to practice personal hygiene. When preparing food, you may use alcohol-based hand rub after washing your hand, but you may not use it instead of washing hands. So you have to wash hand. Alcohol rub by itself doesn't work. Nothing takes the place of proper hand washing. When you feel sick, you should not work with food. The germs that make you sick may spread to a client, food, and other people. Workers should not return to work until they are symptoms free for at least 24 hours. So if you have a symptom of diarrhea, vomiting, or if you have infections that can spread through food like salmonella, shingles, E. coli, or hepatitis A, or if you are infected, or if you have like uncovered wound, or if you are sneezing, coughing, runny nose, please stay home. We prevent foodborne illnesses by preventing ourselves to use our bare hand. It's not a good idea to touch food with a bare hand. Also, we need to use utensils such as tongs, scoops, daily paper, or single-use gloves to keep from touching ready to eat foods. Personal habits can affect the food safety too. So when you work with food, wear a hair covering when preparing or handling food. Keep fingernails trimmed so they are easy to clean. Avoid touching your nose, mouth, or other parts of your face. Or wear clean disposable gloves while handling food if you have wounds or infection on your hand or wrist. Or use a clean spoon, fork to taste food and not reuse it before cleaning it and sanitizing it. You see, you need to practice for hand hygiene. I did that. We did hand washing. You see, he's wearing gloves when he's preparing food. Okay, also we need to keep surfaces and utensils clean as much as possible, and we have to wash and sanitize the cutting boards and countertops if we use them, or we have to clean our dining area, table, chairs, and we have to keep pets or household cleaners and other chemicals away from food and surfaces used for food. Also, we need kitchen equipment and appliances, so because they can also carry harmful contamination, and we also need to use to clean everywhere as much as possible to stop the spread of infection. Dangerous bacteria grow quickly in damp places, so we need to clean our kitchen very well. And after we clean, we need to keep the pots, pans, and utensils off the floor, and we need to put cups and glasses away and upside down on a clean surface and to air dry it. And when you put away eating utensils, touch only the handles. All raw produce should be rinsed under running water to remove dirt and debris before cutting. And all vegetables need to be washed, like melons and cucumbers, with brush if it's possible. See, the lady is cleaning here. We need to separate to prevent cross-contamination. Raw meat, poultry, eggs, and seafood can contaminate other food with harmful germs. It's important to keep raw foods and their juices away from cooked food or ready-to-eat food and produce. Wash your hands after handling raw meat, poultry, or seafood. Never use the same cutting board or dishes or utensils for both raw foods and cooked foods. Wash, rinse, and sanitize cutting surfaces, utensils, and knives after cutting raw meat, poultry, and seafood. Store raw meat, fish, and poultry in a leak-proof container on the lower shelf of the refrigerator. If you use a marinade for raw food as a sauce for cooked food, boil it first. Always use clean dishes to serve food. Okay. How do we store food safely? Freeze any raw meat, poultry, and seafood that you will not use within 2 days. Keep eggs in their original carton and store them in the main compartment of the refrigerator. Never store cooked food, ready-to-eat foods, or fresh produces in the same container as a raw meat, fish, or poultry. In your grocery cart, keep raw meat, poultry, seafood, and egg away from the others. Never store food on the floor or soil surface or near rust. That's not sanitary. Do not store food in galvanized cans or containers with metal coating because some foods can pull off the metal, which can cause poisoning. Now let's learn about cooking and maintaining food at a proper temperature. As you see in the picture, this is the danger zone. This is the cold food area, and the red one is the hot food area. Cooking hazardous foods to a high temperature kill harmful germs and makes the food safe to eat. These foods can become dangerous again if they stay at room temperature for too long. So bacteria grow fast and can double in number in as little as 20 minutes. You must cook food and keep it at a safe temperature to avoid foodborne illnesses. The danger zone. See over here 41, between 41 and 135. And this is the danger zone, 41 and 135. Serve food as soon as possible after cooking. Never leave food out of the refrigerator for more than 2 hours. If the temperature is above 90 degrees Fahrenheit, do not leave food out for more than 1 hour. Keep hot food hot. Store at or above 135. Keep cold food cold. Store at or below 41 degrees Fahrenheit. This is a food thermometer. So we're going to talk about it now. Using food thermometer. This is about food thermometer. Using a food thermometer is the only reliable way to check temperature of the food. When cooking, use a thermometer to make sure the food reaches a safe minimum internal temperature. For both hot and cold food, use a thermometer to make sure they stay at a safe holding temperature. Digital food thermometers reach and display internal temperature within 2 to 5 seconds. They are fast. Wash, rinse, and sanitize the thermometers before use and after using on raw animal foods to prevent cross-contamination. The correct way to measure internal temperature depends on the food. Always insert the thermometer in the thickest part of the food, away from the bone, fat, and gristle. For foods with irregular shapes like chickens, roast, check the temperature in several places. For food cooked in a microwave, you need to stir the, the food evenly and check in several places. For thin foods such as hamburgers and patties, make sure the thermometer probe does not touch the pan or cook surface because the temperature doesn't be right if you do that. For mixed dishes like casserole and quince, also check temperature in several places. So every food is different, so the way you check temperature is different too. It's good practice to check different spots. Food is safely cooked when the internal temperature is high enough to kill the germs that can make you sick. Most harmful germs are destroyed between 140 and 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Different foods have different minimum safe temperature. On your book, there is like a chart here. It shows like poultry, stuffed pasta, fish, meat, and stuffed casserole containing fish, meat, poultry, and all raw animal food cooked in a microwave. The minimum cooking temperature for it is 160 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. And the ground chopped, restructured, or combined fish or meats, such as hamburgers and sausage, radish, mechanically tenderized or injected meats, or unpasteurized eggs cooked for hard holding. Their minimum cooking temperature is 155 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. Unpasteurized eggs cooked for immediate consumption. Fish or meats, including pork. Game animals that are inspected by the FDA, the minimum cooking temperature for them is 145 for 15 seconds. Whole muscle, intact beef steaks that have not been scored or tenderized must be cooked to have a color change on the surface. The minimum cooking temperature is 145. For plant foods that will be held hot, the minimum cooking temperature is 135. I think this chart is very important for you to know. Reheating. As soon as food cools below 135 degrees Fahrenheit, bacteria can start to grow. So reheat food to 165 degrees Fahrenheit within 2 hours to kill any new harmful germs. So to safely reheat food, the book shows we have to follow some directions on here. It says only reheat food that has been safely prepared and refrigerated promptly. If the food has been in a danger zone for more than 2 hours, throw it away. If leftovers have been in the refrigerator for more than 3 days, throw them away. Use the burner on a stove, microwave, oven, or a double boiler. In the microwave oven, cover the food, stir and rotate so it heats evenly. Use a food thermometer to check the temperature or when you are reheating it. What's the thawing food zone? Never thaw food at room temperature on a countertop or in a warm water. This method let harmful bacteria grow quickly to high possible unsafe numbers. The inside of the food may be at a safe temperature, but the inside of the food may be at a safe temperature, but the outside could be perfect for bacterial growth. So there are 3 ways to thaw foods. First, thaw food inside the refrigerator may take longer, but this is the best and safest way to thaw food. And the second one is store the food under cool running water, never under warm or hot water, cool water. And the third one is you can use a microwave to thaw food, frozen food. There's a man usually says defrost or something on the microwave. You should follow that. Cooling foods. To keep food safe, refrigerate them as soon as possible after cooking. Bacteria can grow quickly in cooling food. To cool food to a safe temperature, use the shallow pan method that divides the food into small portions, less than 2 inch usually. It shouldn't be big, and then separate small uncovered containers. Place the containers directly into the freezer or refrigerator as soon as you lay them on it. Do not overpack in the refrigerator. That not good, because air must circulate freely in order to chill foods effectively. Use a thermometer to check that the food is below 41 degrees Fahrenheit, and then cover, wrap, or seal the containers. Labeling and dating is a very good idea. Cooling foods are here. When making some foods, like, we have to reconsider when we are heating some leftover food. Okay, storing cold food. Throw away foods that are past their expiration date. That means leftovers can stay in the refrigerator for up to 3 days. Your refrigerator should be set to temperature to keep foods 41 degree or below, and your freezer should set the temperature like that. If it's safe to refreeze any food remaining leftovers after reheating previously frozen leftovers to a safe temperature. Special consideration for a cold salad. Like, this one is talking about salad. Potato, pasta, macaroni, egg, or chicken salad. They have to be cold enough to prevent bacteria from growing. When making these foods, cook all the ingredients to a safe temperature, then chill to 41 degrees Fahrenheit, and then mixing the ingredients and quickly serve. I think today we covered all the lesson 2 parts. Thank you very much. Have a great time.